My name is Paige Marie Wilson. I'm 34 years old, and today was supposed to be my little sister's big day at the most exclusive vineyard in Napa Valley. I turned my 12-year-old Honda Civic onto the private gravel drive, windows down, letting the warm September air hit my face one last time before I disappeared again. I got there almost an hour early on purpose. I told myself I just wanted to see the place, maybe catch a glimpse of the setup, then leave quietly. No drama, no scene. That was the plan. Then I saw it. A massive 6 by 4 foot banner hanging from the stone arch at the main entrance. My driver's license photo blown up huge, crystal clear, impossible to miss. Underneath, in thick red capital letters that looked like they were dripping blood, "Trash not allowed. Do not let this person in." My mother was standing right beside it, arms folded, chatting with the wedding planner, like it was just another floral arrangement. My father was checking his watch, pretending he didn't notice the giant insult with his daughter's face on it. And there she was, my sister, floating across the lawn, in her custom Vera Wang gown, veil trailing behind her, like nothing in the world could touch her. She spotted me instantly. Her smile turned into a razor-sharp smirk. "What are you doing here?" she said, voice low enough that only I could hear the venom. "Seriously, Paige, you smell like the night shift. Don't let the Harper family see you in that $20 dress." My mother stepped forward, fast manicured nails digging into my forearm. "Honey, just go," she whispered, eyes darting around for cameras. "Don't ruin today for everyone." My father didn't even turn around. He just lifted one hand in a tiny, dismissive wave, like I was a beggar he didn't want to encourage. I stood there for maybe 5 seconds. No tears, no screaming. Just the sound of my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then I pulled out my phone, snapped a quick photo of the banner, and texted it to Cheyenne with 2 words: "Do it." I walked back to my car, slid behind the wheel, and drove away, while they still thought they'd won. 28 minutes. That's exactly how long it took for every single one of those 380 guests to find themselves locked outside the gates, watching $400,000 vanish into thin air. You ever had your own family hang a sign calling you trash on your sister's wedding day? Drop it in the comments, because I need to know I'm not the only one. And hit that subscribe button right now, because you're not going to believe what happened the second I pressed send on that message I'd been holding on to for months. 8 years ago, I was on top of the world. I had just turned 26, walked across the stage at Haas School of Business with my MBA, and 3 days later, a headhunter from San Francisco called with an offer I couldn't refuse: chief financial officer for a fast-growing California Mediterranean restaurant group that already had 22 locations across the Bay Area. Starting salary $260,000 a year, plus equity that could be worth millions if we went public. I signed the contract the same week. My parents couldn't stop bragging. Dad, Kevin Ray Wilson, Senior VP at a commercial real estate firm, told every single member at his country club that his eldest daughter was running the money for one of the hottest chains in Northern California. Mom Denise printed the press release from the company website and framed it for the living room. They threw a party at the house in Almaden Valley just to show me off. Bailey was 19 then, freshman year at community college, still figuring out what she wanted to major in. She posted photos of us, constantly me in my new blazer, her hugging me from behind with the caption, "My superwoman CFO sister." I bought her a 1-bedroom condo 10 minutes from campus so she wouldn't have to commute. I paid tuition in full every semester. When she wanted to spend spring break in Maui with friends, I covered the flights and the resort. Mom and Dad came too, first-class tickets my treat. Hawaii every year became tradition. I met Tanner Brooks at a charity gala for children's hospitals. He was 30, senior software engineer at Google, quiet, tall, the kind of guy who actually listened when you talked. 14 months later, we were married on the 18th green at Pebble Beach. The wedding cost just under $200,000, my bonus paid for most of it. Bailey was my maid of honor. I gave her a pair of 2-carat diamond studs as a thank you gift. She wore them in every selfie for the next year. Even back then, the favoritism was there if you knew where to look. I was pulling 80-hour weeks flying to Los Angeles and Sacramento for investor meetings, while Bailey partied and barely passed her classes. Dad would still slip her $500 for books every month. When she totaled her brand new Mustang, Mom told me, "Paige, you make the big money, help your sister out." I wrote the check for the new car without complaining. That's what big sisters do, right? The marriage lasted 22 months. Tanner started staying late at the office, then weekends, then whole offsites in Vegas. I found the messages on an old iPad, him and his 25-year-old assistant planning dinner that lasted until 4 a.m. When I confronted him, he didn't even try to deny it. He wanted out, and he wanted to keep everything. California is a community property state. 50-50 split, clean and simple, unless one side has better lawyers and dirt. Tanner's firm hired the most aggressive divorce attorney in Silicon Valley. They dug through company expenses and twisted every business trip, every client dinner, every gift I'd ever expensed into unauthorized personal use of corporate funds. The board put me on unpaid leave, pending investigation. Criminal charges were threatened. My own company, my equity, my reputation was on the line. I took the deal they offered, walk away with $12,000 cash, sign away all claims to the condo in San Francisco, the 401k, the stock options, everything. If I fought, they'd drag it out for years and probably ruin me professionally. I signed the papers in a conference room downtown, walked out, and never looked back. I moved into a 400-square-foot studio in East San Jose, where the walls were so thin I could hear the neighbors argue in Spanish every night. I applied everywhere: startups, banks, even retail chains. The second anyone saw the gap on my resume and Googled my name, the interviews stopped. I took the night shift supervisor job at Walmart because rent was due, and the background check didn't ask about embezzlement accusations that never actually happened. I called my parents the day I started training. Mom answered. I told her I needed a little help just until the first paycheck. There was a long pause. "Paige," she finally said, voice soft, like she was breaking bad news to a stranger. "You have to understand. People talk. Kevin's up for partner this year. We can't have this situation tied to the family right now. Dad got on the extension. You made your choices, kiddo. Time to live with them." Bailey changed her Instagram bio the same week. Removed every trace of me. The photos from Hawaii, the graduation hugs, the Pebble Beach wedding gone. Her grid was suddenly nothing but her Landon Harper, her new boyfriend whose family owned half the grocery stores in Northern California and filtered sunsets. She blocked me everywhere else. I still sent her a text on her 21st birthday. No reply. 6 months later, she posted a throwback of us at Disneyland when she was 10, caption, "Miss my big sis sometimes." The comments exploded with heart emojis. I stared at it until the screen went dark. That was the moment I realized I didn't just lose a marriage and a career. I lost my entire family too. Then one Tuesday night, my phone lit up with Bailey's name for the first time in almost 2 years. I stared at the screen so long the call almost went to voicemail. When I finally answered, all I heard was crying, loud, messy sobs that sounded exactly like the ones she used to make when she was 16 and got grounded for sneaking out. "Paige," she hiccuped. "I need you. Please don't hang up." She told me Landon Harper, her boyfriend of 18 months, the only son of the family that owns Harper, Market's the biggest independent grocery chain north of Sacramento, had proposed 2 nights earlier on a private yacht in Sausalito. He got down on one knee with a 3-carat oval diamond that probably cost more than my annual salary now. She said yes, immediately. They wanted the wedding at Silverado Crest, the most exclusive vineyard in Napa Valley. The one celebrities book 2 years out. The one that requires a $72,000 non-refundable deposit just to hold the date. Landon's parents agreed to cover half, but Bailey was short the rest. She had already signed the letter of intent. "I know I've been awful. she whispered between tears. I know I disappeared, but you're the only person I trust with something this big. If I lose this date, I lose everything. Please, Paige, help me one last time. I swear I'll pay you back double after the wedding. She kept me on the phone for 3 straight hours. She talked about the custom gown she had picked out at a private atelier in Los Angeles, the string quartet flying in from Vienna, the floral installations that were going to cost $40,000 alone. She sent me screenshots of the venue rolling hills covered in perfect rows of Cabernet vines, stone barrel rooms, a ceremony lawn that looked like it belonged in a fairy tale. Every time I tried to speak, she cried harder. I sat on my studio floor in East San Jose, surrounded by unpaid bills, listening to my little sister beg the way she used to when we were kids, and she wanted me to cover for her. That same week, a thick envelope arrived from the estate attorney in Palo Alto. My grandmother, Nana Ruth, had passed quietly 6 months earlier. I hadn't even been told about the funeral. Inside the envelope was a letter in her handwriting and a trust distribution notice. She had set up an irrevocable trust years ago, back when I was still the golden child. The document named me as the sole beneficiary of $180,000 to be released to me alone on my 30th birthday, or upon her death, whichever came first. My parents and Bailey were specifically excluded. Nana's note was short. You were the only one money never changed, Paige. Use this wisely. The money hit my account 4 days later. I thought about all the times I worked double shifts at the campus coffee shop to pay Bailey's sorority dues. The nights I drove 45 minutes each way to pick her up from frat parties when she drank too much. The emergency room visit sophomore year when she had alcohol poisoning and called me instead of Mom because she didn't want to get in trouble. I called the vineyard the next morning. The events manager quoted the full package: $178,000 total, ceremony, reception, catering, bar, lighting, the works. If I paid 100% upfront instead of the standard phased schedule, they knocked $30,000 off. Final wire, $148,000 even. I signed the contract as the sole contracting party, Paige Marie Wilson. My name only. My liability only. My cancellation rights only. I met my best friend Cheyenne Lopez for coffee that weekend in the Mission District. We'd been roommates at Berkeley, and now she was a contract attorney at a top firm in the financial district. I slid the thick stack of papers across the table. She read the cancellation clause, Section 17B, out loud. The signing party reserves the unconditional right to terminate this agreement at any time, prior to the event start, subject to forfeiture of all payments made, unless termination is due to documented breach of dignity or harassment, in which case, forfeiture is reduced to 30%. Her eyes went wide. You're insane. You're giving them a loaded gun pointed straight at your own head. I just shrugged. She scanned the rest, then looked up. Give me the original and every addendum. I'm keeping copies in my office safe. Just in case. I took a photo of the signature page and texted it to Bailey with the message, "It's done. Date is locked. Congratulations." She replied instantly with a single red heart emoji. Then nothing. No thank you text, no excited phone call, no invitation to come see the dress or taste the cake samples. Just silence. I told myself it was fine. She was busy. Planning a wedding that size takes over your life. I'd hear from her soon. I was wrong. The silence stretched on for weeks, then months. Bailey got a new phone number the day after I wired the money. The old one went straight to a generic voicemail. Every text I sent to the wedding planner, an overly cheerful woman named Madison, who signed every email with 3 exclamation marks, came back with the same canned response: Bailey says everything is under control. I kept trying anyway. I asked if she needed help choosing the band, the menu, the signature cocktails. I offered to fly up for the cake tasting. Every message was met with polite deflection or total radio silence. One Thursday night, I was scrolling mindlessly on Instagram during my break at work when Mom posted a story from the Vera Wang Bridal Salon on Post Street in San Francisco. 4 glasses of champagne raised in a toast. The caption read, "My perfect little family celebrating the most beautiful bride." I tapped to zoom. There they were. Mom beaming in a pale pink mother of the bride dress, Dad in a custom navy suit, Bailey glowing in a lace sample gown that probably cost more than my car, and Landon standing behind her with his arms wrapped around her waist. 4 people, not 5. I stared at the screen until the story disappeared. I called Mom the next morning from the Walmart parking lot before my shift. She picked up on the 3rd ring. "Hey, sweetie," she said like everything was normal. I saw the story from Vera Wang. I started trying to keep my voice steady. It looked like fun. A long exhale. "Paige. The Harpers are very particular about optics. They've been doing background checks on the entire wedding party, family included. Your current employment situation, the divorce, the whole settlement thing, it raises red flags. We just think it's better if you sit this one out. For Bailey's sake." I remember gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. "So I'm not invited," I said. It wasn't a question. "It's not that we don't love you," she rushed. "It's just complicated." I hung up before she finished the sentence. That night, Cheyenne showed up at my studio with 2 bottles of Silver Oak Cabernet from 2016, one of the last good vintages before the fires. We killed both of them on my tiny balcony while the freeway roared 30 feet below. She told me something I didn't know. A year earlier, right after the divorce settlement hit public records, Mom had thrown a garden party for the country club ladies. Cheyenne had been invited because her firm sponsors the event. While refilling her glass in the kitchen, she overheard Mom laughing with her friends by the pool. "Thank God we still have Bailey," Mom had said loud enough for the caterers to hear. Paige turned out to be such a disappointment. Can you imagine explaining Walmart to the Harpers? Cheyenne had stood there holding the bottle, pretending she hadn't heard a thing. She pulled a flash drive out of her purse that night on my balcony. "Every page of the venue contract," she said. "Original scans, addendums, wire confirmations. Locked in my office safe and backed up to the cloud. If you ever decide to pull the plug, you won't be doing it blind." I told her I wasn't there yet. That blood is blood. That maybe Bailey would come around once the stress died down. Cheyenne didn't argue. She just poured the last of the wine and changed the subject. The official invitation arrived 3 weeks later. Thick cream cardstock, gold foil border calligraphy so perfect it looked printed. I opened it with shaking hands. "Mr. and Mrs. Kevin Ray Wilson request the honor of your presence at the marriage of their daughter Bailey Renee Wilson to Landon Michael Harper. Saturday the 21st of September, Silverado Crest Vineyard, Napa Valley, California. Their daughter." Singular. No daughters. No mention of a sister anywhere. Not even in the family photos on the wedding website. Every childhood picture stopped right around the time I started paying for everything. I sat on my bed holding that card for a long time. I thought about calling Bailey. I thought about driving to my parents' house in Almaden Valley and putting the invitation on the kitchen island where they couldn't ignore it. Instead, I slid it into the top drawer of my nightstand right next to the printed contract I still hadn't had the courage to cancel. I kept waiting for a text that never came. A phone call, an apology, something that proved I still existed to them. The drawer stayed closed, the contract stayed active, and the wedding date crept closer. September 21st arrived clear and hot. I woke up at 5 without an alarm, the kind of awake where your body knows something irreversible is coming. I showered, pulled on the only black dress I owned that still fit, simple knee-length, nothing flashy, and left the jewelry box closed. No rings, no necklace, no watch. I looked like someone attending a funeral, which felt about right. By 5:30, I was on 880 North, then 680 SI, then cutting across on Highway 12 through the Carquinos Strait. The drive took just over 2 hours with light Saturday traffic. I rolled the windows down outside Fairfield so the smell of grapevines and dry oak would fill the car one last time. I reached the private turnoff for Silverado Crest at 9:15, almost a full hour before guests were scheduled to arrive. The plan was simple: park far down the service road, walk the perimeter, maybe watch from the ridge where the ceremony lawn dropped off into the vineyards, then disappear before anyone noticed. I never got that far. As I rounded the last bend, the stone archway came into view, and there it was, a massive white banner stretched between two pillars. My California driver's license photo blown up larger than life. Bold red block letters underneath: trash not allowed. Do not let this person in. The wedding planner's assistant was adjusting the bottom corner with zip ties, acting like it was just another decor element. My mother stood 10 feet away, sipping iced coffee and scrolling her phone. Dad leaned against the valet stand, checking his Rolex. Bailey was on the ceremony lawn in full bridal gown, veil blowing in the breeze, laughing while the photographer directed Landon into position. I stepped out of the car. Bailey saw me first. Her smile froze, then twisted into something sharp and satisfied. She handed her bouquet to a bridesmaid and walked straight over train, dragging across the gravel like she owned the planet. "What are you doing here?" she asked, voice low enough that only the immediate circle could hear. "Please tell me you're not planning to park that 15-year-old Civic where the Harpers might see it." Mom appeared at my elbow, instantly manicured fingers closing around my wrist. "Paige, honey," she murmured through clenched teeth. "Go home. You're going to ruin the pictures. This is Bailey's day." Dad didn't even turn around. He just lifted one hand in that same dismissive wave I remembered from the parking lot 3 years earlier. I looked past them to the banner. The morning sun hit the red letters so hard they looked wet, like fresh blood. Something inside me went very quiet. I pulled my phone out of my purse, took one clear photo of the sign, and opened my messages to Cheyenne. I hit call instead. She answered on the first ring. "Tell me you're not there." "I'm here," I said. My voice didn't shake. They hung a banner with my face on it. "Trash not allowed." Silence for half a second. "You sure?" she asked. "Once I send this, the gates close. No undo button." I've never been more sure of anything. "Do it," I said. "Drive," she replied. "I've got everything." I hung up, slid the phone back into my purse, and walked to my car without looking back. I didn't run. I didn't cry. I just got in, started the engine, and pulled away while Bailey's laughter echoed behind me. 15 minutes later, I stopped at the Shell station on Jameson Canyon Road, the closest place with decent coffee and a clear view of the hills. I bought a large dark roast I didn't drink, and sat on the hood of my car staring at the photo I'd taken. The tears came then, hot, fast, and completely silent. They weren't sad tears anymore. They felt like the last bits of something toxic finally leaving my body. My phone buzzed. Cheyenne email sent. Official cancellation under Section 17B with attached evidence of dignity violation. Management confirmed receipt. Gates locking in 20. Get farther away if you don't want to be in the blast radius. I wiped my face, took one long sip of the coffee, and smiled for the first time all morning. It wasn't a nice smile. 13 minutes after I left the gas station, my phone rang. "It's done," Cheyenne said, voice calm and clipped like she was reading closing arguments. "Gates are locked. General manager just went on the loudspeaker. Full evacuation notice, 30 minutes to clear the property. They're not playing." I pulled onto the shoulder of Highway 12, heart hammering against my ribs. I still had the old family group chat on my phone, the one nobody had remembered to kick me out of after 2 years of silence. I opened it for the first time in forever. Mom was already typing. "Paige, what did you do?" "Open the gates. Right now, 380 guests are standing in the sun. This isn't funny." "Paige, answer me. We look like idiots. Your sister is having a meltdown. Call me." The messages came so fast the screen couldn't keep up. Dad jumped in with a single furious voice note. "Fix this. Now." I didn't reply. I just watched the little dots bounce as they realized I was reading and ignoring them. A notification popped up from Sarah Kim, my old college roommate who'd married into wine money and somehow ended up on the guest list. She was live on Instagram. I tapped it. The camera shook as hundreds of designer shoes crunched on gravel. Men in Tom Ford suits fanned themselves with programs. Women in pastel silk clutched champagne flutes that would never be refilled. The stone archway loomed behind them, gates chained shut, security in black polos blocking every entrance. A vineyard employee held a bullhorn. "Ladies and gentlemen, the contract has been terminated by the signing party. All guests must vacate the premises immediately. No exceptions." You could hear the collective gasp travel through the crowd like a wave. Sarah panned to the left. There were my parents sprinting, actually sprinting toward the main building. Mom's heels kept sinking into the lawn. Dad had his jacket off, tie flapping. Bailey was right behind them, veil ripped off, mascara already streaking, screaming at Madison, the wedding planner, who looked like she wanted the earth to swallow her whole. I turned the volume up. Bailey's voice cracked over the chaos. "Offer them whatever they want. 100,000, 200, tell them the Harpers will write the check right now." Madison just shook her head, phone glued to her ear, repeating the same sentence. "The contract is terminated." The signing party invoked the dignity clause with photographic evidence. There is no negotiation. Meanwhile, Cheyenne was busy on another front. Last weekend, Bailey and the bridal party had done a final fling bachelorette in the city. They stayed at the proper hotel in San Francisco. Ryan, the best man, Landon's childhood friend, had gotten way too drunk and way too handsy. One of Cheyenne's paralegals, Mia, had been at the same bar with friends. She hated Bailey since freshman year when Bailey stole her boyfriend and spread rumors that got her kicked out of their sorority. Mia filmed the whole thing from a corner booth, Bailey and Ryan stumbling into an elevator, her wedding dress shopping bag swinging his hand already under the hem of her skirt. 37 seconds of crystal-clear, date-stamped proof. Cheyenne had held onto it like a loaded missile. Right as the vineyard loudspeaker finished its third warning, she hit send direct to Landon's personal cell with the subject line, "Before you say I do." I was still parked on the shoulder when Sarah's live feed swung toward the ceremony lawn. Landon stood frozen between two floral arches that had cost more than most people's cars. His phone buzzed once. He looked down. His face went from confused to gray to something that looked a lot like murder. He didn't scream. He didn't throw the phone. He just turned, walked straight to the microphone the string quartet had been setting up, and tapped it twice. The crowd quieted out of pure shock. "This wedding," he said, voice steady and ice cold, "is over." Bailey whipped around. "Landon, baby, whatever she sent you." He held the phone up so the camera and half the guests who were now filming could see the screen. Gasps rippled outward. Someone shrieked. A phone hit the ground and shattered. Bailey lunged for it. Landon stepped back, letting her stumble in 6-inch heels. "I'm not marrying you," he continued into the mic, loud enough for every influencer in the front row to catch perfect audio. "I'm not bankrolling a liar. And I'm definitely not letting my family's name get dragged through whatever this is." He dropped the microphone. It screeched feedback across the valley. Then he walked away past the ice sculptures already sweating in the heat, past the 12-tier cake under a glass dome, past his own parents who looked too stunned to move, and got into the black Suburban waiting at the service exit. The feed cut to Sarah whispering, "Holy shit," before it ended. My phone exploded again. "Mom, Paige, please, we'll lose everything. Your sister is on the ground. Fix this, I'm begging you." I stared at the screen until it went black. Then I turned the phone face down on the passenger seat and merged back onto the highway. My phone still vibrated against the passenger seat like an angry hornet. I glanced at the screen. Unknown number, Napa area code. I let it ring out. 30 seconds later, it rang again. Same number. This time I answered on speaker and kept driving. Mom's voice exploded through the car before I could speak. "Paige." "Oh, thank God." Put me on with the manager right now. Tell them it's a mistake. Tell them we'll pay whatever they want. In the background, I heard chaos, women crying, men shouting, the metallic clang of gates refusing to open. Someone was yelling about Ubers surging to $400. Denise? I said, using her first name for the first time in my life. It's not a mistake. Silence on the line, then frantic whispering. The phone switched to speaker on their end. A new voice, Landon's, cut through the noise like a blade. This wedding is over, he announced loud enough for everyone around him to hear. I will not marry someone who slept with my best man a week before saying vows to me. We're done. Bailey screamed in the background, a raw animal sound. It was one time. It didn't mean anything, Landon. Please. I heard shuffling, then the unmistakable clatter of a diamond ring hitting stone. Bailey lunged. Give me that phone. She's lying. Whatever she sent you is fake. Landon's voice stayed flat. I watched the video 3 times. The timestamp is from last Saturday night at the proper. You were still wearing the bride sash. The crowd around them erupted. Phones rose like periscopes. Influencers who had spent the morning posting ring shots and veil reveals were now live streaming the implosion in real time. Mom came back on the line sobbing. Paige, baby, please. Have mercy on your sister. Open the gates. I'm on my knees here. I'm literally begging the general manager and he won't even look at me. I could picture it perfectly. Mom in her custom silk mother of the bride gown mascara running, clutching the arm of a man in a navy blazer who only cared about liability. Bailey grabbed the phone next. Her voice was shredded. You psychotic bitch, she shrieked. You ruined my life. You're insane. I waited until she ran out of breath. Then I spoke calm and clear. Now you know what trash tastes like. I ended the call. The phone rang again immediately. Mom, Dad, Madison, the wedding planner, even a few cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. I blocked every single one by one until the only sound in the car was the hum of tires on asphalt and the wind rushing through the open windows. I rolled them all the way down and let the hot valley air slap my face. For the first time in 8 years, my chest didn't hurt when I breathed. I drove south on 29 past rows of vines turning gold in the September light, past tasting rooms that would be packed tomorrow with people pretending their lives were perfect. I didn't stop until I hit the Carquinos Bridge, then pulled over at the Vista Point where you can see the whole bay sparkle below. I got out, leaned against the hood, and opened my banking app. The trust balance still showed $32,000 left after the venue payment. More than enough to disappear for a while. Another notification flashed, a new Venmo request from Bailey for $72,000 labeled "You owe me" for emotional damage. I laughed out loud so hard my eyes watered and declined it. Then I deleted the app entirely. My phone was finally quiet. I stood there until the sun burned the last of the morning chill off my skin and realized something simple and enormous: I was free. No more waiting for apologies that would never come. No more hoping the people who threw me away would one day want me back. They had made their choice the day they hung that banner. I had just made mine. I got back in the car, turned north again, not toward San Jose, but toward the coast. Highway 1 was calling, and I had nothing left to lose. As I merged onto the on-ramp, one final text slipped through before I blocked the last unknown number. Mom. We're so sorry. Please come home. I read it once. Then I powered the phone off, tossed it into the glove box, and pressed the accelerator. The road unrolled ahead of me like forgiveness I no longer needed from anyone else. 6 months later, I was living under a different sky. Seattle greeted me with constant drizzle and the smell of salt water mixed with espresso. Cheyenne had put me in touch with a senior recruiter at Amazon. 3 interviews later, I accepted a fulfillment center operations manager position at $95,000 base plus quarterly bonuses and actual stock units. I rented a 12th floor studio in Belltown with floor-to-ceiling windows facing Elliott Bay. On clear days, I could see the ferries cutting white wakes toward Bainbridge Island. I bought new furniture, real furniture, not the particle board stuff I'd dragged from apartment to apartment. I hung one framed photo on the wall, me and Nana Ruth at my Haas graduation, both of us laughing like we knew a secret the rest of the world hadn't caught yet. The rest of the family wasn't laughing. The vineyard kept 70% of my payment, $103,600 under the dignity clause. The remaining 30% barely covered the florist, photographer, and cake deposits they'd already paid. $58,000 gone in smoke. The Harpers demanded every gift returned, down to the crystal toasters and the monogrammed linen sets. They cut all ties publicly and quietly removed the Wilson name from every future Harper Markets charity gala list. Landon filed a small claim suit for the 3-carat engagement ring. California law is clear: an engagement ring is a conditional gift. If the wedding is called off because of the recipient's fault, it goes back. Bailey fought it for 3 months, then handed it over. The day the judge threatened contempt, she posted a tear-streaked selfie the same afternoon with the caption, "Some people only know how to destroy." The comments were brutal. My parents put the Almaden Valley house on the market in November. The mortgage, the second lien they'd taken for Bailey's wedding expenses, and the credit card debt from deposits left them underwater. It sold at a loss. They moved into a spare bedroom at Aunt Linda's place in Fresno, 3 hours south, and a world away from the country club life they used to flaunt. I heard most of this secondhand. Mutual acquaintances who still felt sorry for me would forward screenshots. A few sent direct messages. "Your sister looks rough. Your mom aged 10 years overnight." I read them then, archived the conversations. One Sunday morning in March, a text slipped through from a number I hadn't blocked yet. "Mom, we have nothing left, Paige. The house is gone. Your father's blood pressure is through the roof. Bailey can't even get a job interview. Please, we're your family." I stood at my kitchen counter, coffee cooling in my hand, and stared at the message for a long time. Outside, rain streaked the windows in silver lines. A container ship slid past, slow and steady, bound for somewhere far away. I typed nothing. I pressed block. Then I walked to the window, rested my forehead against the cool glass, and watched the city move on without me. I wasn't trash anymore. I was the one who walked away, paid my own bills, slept through the night without nightmares, and woke up to a view most people only see on postcards. I was the one who saved myself. The phone stayed silent after that. No more begging. No more guilt trips disguised as concern. Cheyenne flew up for a long weekend in April. We drank wine on my balcony while the Olympics turned pink in the sunset. She told me the firm had made her partner the youngest in the contracts group. We toasted with the good glasses, the ones I bought myself. "You did it," she said, clinking her glass against mine. "You actually did it." I looked out at the water and felt something settle in my chest, solid, permanent mine. "I did," I said. And for the first time in my adult life, I believed it completely.